you made a fucking direwolf.
Our incredible team made 3 direwolves so far.
We turned now to that remarkable scientific breakthrough.
A howl 13,000 years in the making.
Direwolf is the first de-extinct species.
We're making history.
And it's broken the internet.
Officially with it, yeah, I'm scared. You gotta give it up to the man. Cause I'm back.
Using genetic engineering, a company called
Colossal
Biosciences
revive these extinct animals. How, you might ask?
And something called de-extinction.
Never turn me down, no you can't. We making the laws of the land. Losing like a lack, I'm back.
Have you ever seen Game of Thrones?
Of course. You actually have direwolves?
Everything that we make that has an application to conservation, anyone in the world can use to help save animals.
They are so adorable.
I'm like, babe, what are you thinking about? He's like, how the direwolf would be as high as his counter. That's what men think about.
This is just fascinating. They have de-extinctified the direwolf.
Ride on them, come through with it, just slide.
I like that. Those direwolves are beautiful. So many questions.
Explain how you did that.
Ancient DNA from direwolf fossil.
The magic comes from multiplexed precise editing.
This is a monumental genetic first for the world and for America.
Unreal. Quite remarkable. Mind-boggling.
One step. Wait till we see what's next.
You gotta give it up to the man. Cause I'm back.
Oh, they did switch them out.
Oh, they did switch them out. Great.
I had a lot of anxiety about y'all have like these amazing cans here that require like trigonometry to open.
America versus England.
Yeah.
By the way, that first howl is the best noise I think I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
that
so that was
howl.
actually, to the filmmakers of the world, that was actually a Peter Jackson idea. So we were with Peter, and we were in New Zealand. We actually I just hooked it up for Fran and him to hear it. Absolutely overwhelmed, started like crying. He's like, this is the first howl in 10,000 years. It's amazing. And I was like, that should be like the center of us announcing this if Peter is like this engaged in it. And so, yeah, they are, when they came out, they were like these like cute little, we had no idea like fully what to expect. We had some ideas, right? But they were like these like little, almost like, polar bears. And then like once they started their howling, like it just changed, like, and they started to get their personalities, just everything changed.
How old were they when they made their first howl?
Yeah, so they were 3 weeks, right, when they did their first, 3 weeks. And so, yeah, it was crazy. And what happened was Paige, who's incredible, she's on our animal operations team, she actually just started howling. Like she actually started like kind of just like singing, and then they responded to her singing.
Oh, wow.
Which like, so it was completely unprompted. Like that was just like an iPhone video, and they just like, so Romulus and Remus just loved her singing, because I guess she's just an incredible singer, and they got so excited they started howling.
Wow. Do they howl in response to any other sort of thing?
Yeah, so we actually have a bioacoustics project that we're working on with the teams from Yellowstone, actually using AI to monitor howls. So we've been playing those howls so that we could track wolves for wolf conservation and understand more about wolf conservation.
Okay.
And we've been playing those howls, and then they've actually been responding. And we're actually looking at using AI, looking at how we not only identify individual wolves, but we're also identifying specifically patterns of like when they're excited, when they're hunting, all these different things, so we can understand kind of wolf like linguistics. But what's crazy about it is the direwolves have their own unique pitch and inflection. Each wolf does, and each kind of like group of wolves does. But we're going to release that later this year, where it's like, this is the specific wolf howl, and like as an adult, and like how it measures differently from these other wolves.
Oh my God, well, we can't wait for that. All right, guys? Yeah! Okay, now a selfish question.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of Game of Thrones when it came out?
I was a fan of Game of Thrones. I never thought I'd be working on anything that related to Game of Thrones.
Really?
Yeah. There wasn't like this, like, when Game of Thrones came out, which was a while ago, I never thought like, oh, by the way, one day we'd make dragons or direwolves.
Yeah, when are the dragons coming, dude? It's taking forever.
Yeah, dinosaurs and dragons are our biggest questions.
What about dinosaurs?
So
we're gonna have dinosaurs again. Can you bring them back?
So you can't. We get this is the number one question we get.
Really?
Followed by like mythical creatures, and so like unicorns and dragons are up there. But yeah. People get we get a lot of weird questions. I did a talk actually with TechCrunch, and all they wanted to talk about was Pikachu, and all they wanted to talk about is could we make Pokemon, which was like, and it was a conservation conversation, so it went real left for quite some time. But we can't make dinosaurs. What I should say is you can't de-extinct a dinosaur.
Okay.
So we're actually working with DNA that's about 1.2 million years old. This is about as far back as we can go.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs died off, at least to our knowledge, 65 million years ago. So there is no dino DNA. Every so often you'll see something on Instagram where it's like, we found a fucking dinosaur embryo in China, and it's just not real.
It's just not true.
It's just not true, because every time that happens, I get like flooded with requests saying, you lied to us. Oh my God, you can make a dinosaur. Why are you lying? Where's your secret dinosaurs? But I do.
Where are they kept?
I know. Where's the secret dinosaurs? They're like right next to dragons. But what's interesting is I do think that over time we'll know enough about DNA that we could probably engineer dinosaur-like stuff. But we're not focused on that.
Okay. So what are we focused on for our next project?
So we are still heads down on the mammoth, the Tasmanian tiger, and the dodo. We surprised the world with the direwolves that had all kinds of feedback, which was fun and interesting to navigate. And then obviously the woolly mouse, which was objectively probably the cutest animal we've made so far. But we have some other projects in the hopper that we haven't quite announced yet.
Okay.
Just like I know there's probably projects you have in the hopper we can't. I've been told we can't talk about. So yeah, there's a couple other things. But right now we're pretty heads down on making sure our direwolves are healthy.
Yeah.
We're working on our cold tolerant test on our woolly mice, which are Chippendale, which we named
Chippendale. I love that.
Yeah, which we named Chippendale. And then we're also working on continuing to work on the mammoth and the dodo. And I think that maybe this summer there could be a dodo update that's interesting.
Oh, stay tuned, folks. Okay, and what was George R.R. Martin's reaction when you told him that you brought back direwolves?
So we felt like it was inauthentic to not reach out to like you and George and Kit. It was like why, like the world, most people when we talked to them about direwolves, they were like, oh, direwolves are mythical creatures. They weren't real, right?
I thought that when we were filming Game of Thrones. I thought they were mythical.
Kit thought that after Game of Thrones too.
Oh,
yeah. So like a lot of people did. And so when I was on we just felt like we're going to announce this. If I had spent, a large portion of my life and career working with these, if these were part of kind of like, I heard that you and others have direwolf tattoos, and I was like, we have got to like reach out to these folks. So we reached out to George. We talked to George, and on the call, he was like, I just need to know. I need to know. You've got direwolves. He was like preemptively jumping to the answer. Like,
wow.
He wouldn't. I was like, I'm not gonna say anything. Let me just show something up. And so I put the how on. Yeah. And he same thing. Like teared up, got so excited, and he was like this, and he gave me this incredible like in the moment. Like George, he's like so smart. He's like, I write about magic, but this is creation of magic. Yeah. He's like, can I see them? So we made we don't let many people see them, but we made an exception, and we flew him out to a undisclosed location and let Paris, his wife, and George actually see them and hold Romulus. And
he held Romulus?
He held Romulus, and it was, he said it was one of the best days of his life.
Oh, when can I see them?
Yeah, well, we can figure that out.
I'll wait for the email. So because we're speaking about direwolves, I obviously thought they were mythical creatures, but when did they live and where did they live?
So they were predominantly in the U.S. and North America. They went extinct about 12,000 years ago. Interestingly enough, they are closest related to modern gray wolves. For a long time, people thought and we got lots of feedback when we launched, that they were closer related to jackals, but that was just actually incorrect. That's the beautiful thing about science. Like as you go through science, you learn more. Yeah. And we have about 500 times more data than anyone in the world on direwolves. Wow. Just because we've done all this sequencing. And we found that they actually are close related to wolves, and we got to publish a scientific paper and everything around it, which was pretty cool. But what's interesting is that there were this extinct lineage of canids that pretty much only lived in North America, and we think that they kind of rose up around like 2 million years ago. So they were in the entire Pleistocene era and right into the kind of the Holocene transition into kind of where we are today. And then they died off, and they died off pretty suddenly about 12,000 years ago.
Why was that?
So there's a lot of theories, and you'll get a lot of feedback if you choose one. At least I will, on why extinct megafauna in North America went extinct. But it was largely loss of the global accepted answer is that loss of things that they could eat, like mammoths and camels and mastodons and other big megafauna. And the competition from smaller animals at that time, as well as the change of the climate and the rise of like anthropologic effects. So the rise of like early man hunted big slow things, and then that cut down their food source. There was dramatic for the last 20% of the world, there were dramatic changes in the environment that happened about 12,500 years ago during this Younger Dryas cooling period. And there's lots of really thoughtful reasons why people think that could have played a major role in it, but nobody 100% knows.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it up to speculation.
Yeah.
And so I hear, obviously, they're in an undisclosed location, but on a private eco-reserve. What's that like for them?
Yeah, so they live way better than I do. So they're on a 2,000-acre secure, expansive ecological preserve. And it's not in Yellowstone, but it's very Yellowstone-like.
Okay.
But we have a full animal hospital there. We have 10 full-time people that care for them 24/7. We've got security perimeters, we've got drones, we've got cameras, and then we've had to go through this entire process of taking them first getting colostrum and milk from the mom, then moving directly into bottle feeding, then to food, and now they're doing some carcass feeding. So we're actually, which also teaches really cool social behaviors.
Yeah.
So like as they are eating with each other, they're starting to learn kind of like what that power dynamic looks like.
Oh, interesting.
And they're starting to do some light predation on the preserve. So we're like observing, they're becoming more and more true wolf-like every day. People think that because they were born, with human intervention, that they're like dogs. They're definitely not like dogs. I mean, they were when they were small. They felt like puppies. But I told the story a couple months ago. But I was actually in the preserve, and Remus came up to me, the smaller of the two. Romulus was the one that I was super attached to when I guess he was a puppy or a smaller puppy, and bottle fed him and everything. Romulus won't come near humans for the most part. I mean, he'll be at a distance, head down, eyeing you, and you're like,
oh wow.
You're like, well, he's a fucking wolf, so it doesn't make sense. and then what's interesting about Remus is that Remus came up to me and let me touch him, and then I was sitting on kind of this big play area of logs that we've created for them in kind of their socialization zone of their habitat, and then there was a sound, and Remus jumped. And Remus started to get super skittish, and they just have that behavior. And so only Paige, who's with them about 6 days a week, they have that relationship with where they want to go and see her and kind of engage with her.
Right.
They kind of see her as an extension of the pack.
Yeah.
But I mean, the true kind of wild and wolf characteristics, I think it's a testament to one, them being wild animals, but two, the team being so incredible at walking through their socialization behavior.
Yeah.
But now they're pretty wild.
Wow.
So I will not be ever in the preserve again.
Okay. And in terms of, because you mentioned power dynamics within the pack, who's the alpha?
So, I would have said, if you asked me, it would 100% been Romulus, just because he was bigger. He is stronger.
Yeah.
He is noticeably bigger
Yeah.
than Remus. Remus is catching up, but now Remus is just absolutely has no fear.
Wow.
So I think that as we're about to introduce Khaleesi, the girl, into the pack, And then we're, which I'm sure you have feedback on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's how Stark thinks, so it's a bit weird. But
Well, so we actually aren't complete idiots. We kind of thought through this, and our thought process was like, oh, we're including George, and we're going to reach out to Sophie, we're going to reach out to Kit, and Direwolves for House Stark. It's like, we're not going to make dragons, so we're going to alienate the other part of the fan base.
Oh, right,
so we were trying to be inclusive,
Yeah.
but like, we probably should have written that down or made like a YouTube video about it, because that's like one of the other comments we got. They're like, these guys are idiots. They don't know that Khaleesi she did not have direwolves. And it's like, we definitely knew she didn't have direwolves. But we were trying to be an inclusive, and
Well,
you can please some people occasionally.
Yeah, you can't please everyone. Sansa would have sounded better, but it's okay.
We'll keep that in mind for the next one.
Okay, great. And where were you when they were born? Do you remember finding out? Were you there, when it happened?
I was in London.
Oh, you were in London?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I was at the raffles.
Oh, you were at the spa?
I was somewhere. So no, I witnessed it we were launching our foundation. So
yeah.
we were launching the Colossal Foundation. It's a global foundation that we raised $50 million to fund conservation efforts, and we were launching it here in London. So I was here in London for it, and so I wasn't there, and I did the whole weird like FaceTime experience. So
okay, so
it was
you
really
saw
cool.
the
So I was
happen.
I was completely virtually present for it.
Wow.
Yes.
And how was that? Was it quite touching?
It was amazing. It was like, it's also like, it's history, but then it's also like psychotically terrifying, right? Because you're like,
yeah, of course.
Did everything go right? We did weekly ultrasounds. We had 10-person care team.
Wow.
We brought in the best vets. We brought in international vets. We brought in the best people from the world. We brought in wolf experts. I mean, this was like moon landing level stuff that we had.
Wow.
Everything was in a clean room. The iPhone was actually in this device that was clean because it like brought in. I mean, you would have thought that. I mean, it was basically in like a biosafety level 2 lab. The way we've kind of structured everything,
sure.
It was crazy. But you still have that moment, right? It's like when the first one's born. Romulus was born first. When the first one's born, it's kind of like when I just had my first child, and it's like you're like waiting for that first breath of air. Is everything okay? And you feel that pit in your stomach, right? Because you've got hundreds of people that have been working on this project, and you want the animal to be healthy and happy, and you want everything good, but you have this moment. It's still biology, and so you're kind of just rolling the dice and waiting a little bit. Totally. And it's terrifying.
I mean, it's unprecedented, so who knows how it's going to go.
Yeah, but once Romulus, because their eyes are closed, and once Romulus started making yip sounds, like within like 2 seconds, we have not shown that video because it's a little, they don't look like they've had a blowout in it. They're very sticky at that moment. But it was amazing. Like once that happened, all the anxiety goes away, and then it's kind of like excitement and love, and it's just cool.
Totally. You feel like they're your kids.
Well, now I have a real child, so I can't say that.
You can't compare.
Yeah, but yes.
And so, just tell me how like the project came into being.
People think that it was pretty like with the Colossal plan, that this was always on the plan, but it really wasn't. Like what happened was, we started the business, we started working on the mammoth, started working on the thylacine, started working on the dodo, and we just kept making, like when you do what we work on, you need to build an entire system, right? You got to build, like if we just do like ancient DNA analysis, well then that's not gonna get you to a mammoth. You have to solve animal husbandry, you've got to solve genetic engineering, computational analysis. You have to solve so much in the process. And so once you have the system, it makes it more efficient and cheaper if you work on more species, right? And so we kind of did this whiteboard session with a couple like key experts, Lou Vidalin and Beth Shapiro and a few others, and did this whole it's like, what could we bring back? Like, what's the art of the possible? My favorite animal isn't possible right now. But direwolves were on the list, and all these things were on the list. And then I kind of fell into the category of like direwolves, like we're going to stick to non-mythical creatures. I kind of fell in the same category.
Yeah.
And so I got quickly educated in that meeting from much smarter people than me. So direwolves were on the list, all these things were on the list, but we didn't make any decisions. We just kept moving along on our projects. And then I was actually with one of our biggest, we're working on a buffalo conservation project in North Dakota and a few other northern states around looking at population genetics of bison and, how we can engineer in lost genetic diversity to bison and how we can help save the bison, which have this emotional connection to some of the largest tribes in the United States. And I got I was going through the Tribal Heritage Museum with Chairman Fox, and he literally walked me through the history, some of the oral history of his people, talking about the great wolf. And he's like, you should think about doing the direwolf. We believe it was the great wolf. It was a larger wolf, and it had beautiful white fur. And at the time, no one, before this, we didn't even know direwolves had white fur.
Right.
Like people thought they had red fur because they thought they were closer to jackals, which they're not. So that was kind of like just an artistic version of the wolves. Wow. And until we got the DNA, we didn't really know. And so we had this conversation, like, oh, that's interesting. That was on the board. And then 3 weeks later, we were in North Carolina, and they were talking about the red wolves. And the most endangered wolves on the planet is an American wolf called the red wolf. It's the only true endemic wolf to the U.S. That's still alive. And there's only 15 left in the wild. And so we said, well, we try to pair all of our de-extinction work with the conservation project. So we're like, well, if we could help save red wolves, if we could use these tools to learn about red wolves, if we could use these tools to get excitement and collaboration with one of our it's important to one of our biggest indigenous partners, that's amazing. And then it just had this halo effect of pop culture, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've always said from day one that Colossal, we have this desire to be to make science for everyone. We don't have this view that like kids read scientific journals.
Yeah.
Not against scientific journals. I get a lot of feedback all the time about how allegedly I hate scientific journals. That's not fucking true. But kids are on Instagram. They're on TikTok. They're on all these other channels. And if you want to get kids excited about science, you got to go where they are, right? And make the science cool.
Yeah.
And so what was interesting about the direwolves is it had this halo effect of like, helping wolves, being able to actually do it, build new technologies, the support for the indigenous people, and kids would get excited. We thought kids would get excited about it. And it's every metric of success, it has surpassed our worldviews of what was possible.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, we have like little kids that draw pictures of puppies and direwolves and send them to our offices now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like that's actually what we should have put up. We should have had pictures of the kids.
Yeah, you should have had hand-drawn toddler pics. Okay, and what else in your research about direwolves, other than the kind of hair color, what was the most interesting thing that you found out? So
we know from the fossil record that they were roughly 20% bigger, and we think they were heavier based on density of bones and based on when the skeletal morphology is put together. But we don't actually know until these are all just, it's kind of like when someone gets a couple pieces of a dinosaur and they're like, and this is exactly what the dinosaur looked like, right?
Yeah.
Where, we don't get full things from the fossil record.
Yeah.
And so, and you can't interpret it. One of the things that was interesting about the direwolves is that it's not just their coat color, which we found in the DNA. We didn't have to wait till they were born, but we didn't know how that their color and how their coat would actually form and what it would be like.
Yeah.
And what's been interesting is it is like super thick, like a polar. It's insanely. I mean, I showed you a pic from yesterday or 2 days ago backstage, and it is so fluffy, so thick, and they have that like ridge line on the back of their neck that almost looks like a mane. It's crazy, but none of that, the data that we got from the genetic analysis, none of that was known. We just knew that these were the genes that would drive the exact hair phenotype in direwolves.
I mean, how amazing to discover all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, in real time. It's all in real time, and then it's fun to one, discover it, two, to share it, and then get to have education conversations where people are like, but they're supposed to be red. And it's like they just weren't.
They're just not. Look.
Yeah. Well, I can't say that. What I can say is we have 2 direwolf samples, the only 2 that have ever produced DNA that have a 60,000 years of genetic divergence. So more than likely they were all white,
right? Which
makes sense because they were a Pleistocene wolf. But with that much genetic divergence, I think that since those alleles were fixed, we believe that they were all white, but maybe there's a secret red variant we never found.
Who knows?
Yeah.
One might just pop out soon. And now talking about I'm sure you're a fan of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, we've heard that.
We've spoken about dinosaurs, but I wanted to know, when they were shooting the new Jurassic World?
Jurassic World.
Birth? Did they consult you at all when working on these kind of movies?
So
we could have done with consulting you on Game of Thrones, I think.
Yeah, you guys are great. But so Jurassic World and Gareth Edwards and team did not consult us pre the movie.
Okay.
But we are big fans of Gareth and his previous work.
Yeah.
One of my many other unpopular opinions is that Rogue One is probably one of the best, if not the best, Star Wars, which I get a lot of feedback on that. I made that comment once on
You're brave.
X. I know, and that also created a lot of anger towards me. But we're big fans of the franchise. We're very big fans of Michael Crichton's writings. George Church's work is actually in the first book. So most people don't realize this. We get the question all the time that's like, were you inspired by Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Well, George can actually, my co-founder, who's the head of genetics at Harvard, he can actually say that his work is actually in the first book. And so his first work on yeast, there's a DNA sample in Michael Crichton's first novel, and only one letter is changed. And so we assume he changed. No one's ever asked him, but we assumed he, before he passed away, but we assumed he changed it just for like copyright or whatnot. Yeah. But it's like statistically impossible that the rest of them would be the exact same.
Yeah.
So George likes to think, jokingly, he's like, well, maybe I inspired Jurassic Park with this work. And so George takes that position. But that was well before Colossal, so it's unclear whether it affects us. That we had, and obviously we didn't have any effect on it. But I will say that I'm very excited about the new movie. I'm very excited about Gareth, and maybe there's opportunities that we could collaborate with them post.
I think you should.
I do too. Let's see what happens in a couple weeks.
Okay. So Colossal is your 6th company.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. What inspired you to create a de-extinction company?
It was really George's vision. Like, it wasn't my vision.
Right.
It was really George's vision. He had this vision. I called him to talk about this idea of synthetic biology, that we can engineer life. We can use AI and computational analysis and eventually quantum, which we are told it's only 2 years away every single 2 years.
Yeah.
And but eventually we can use all these tools to like engineer life. So I was really excited about that. And when I called George, he was like, we should bring back the mammoth. We should use it to build more extinct species. We could use some of the technologies for human healthcare. And we could also use this to help conservation. And to me, like, I was pretty enamored by the cool factor. I didn't really understand what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, you need to go research it. At the time, it was forecasted that we could lose up to 15%, of all biodiversity in the next, at the time, 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Now it's up to 50%. We could lose up to 50%. They'll either be extinct or be in or be like at the point of like critically endangered, where without human intervention they will go extinct. And so George was completely right that we need new tools in conservation.
Yeah.
He thought we could do it in a way that would also be interesting to bring back species to inspire kids. And then he thought that the halo effect of reintroducing these species that would be protected back into the ecosystems could help with restoring the ecosystems, which we know makes the ecosystem more efficient for climate and for combating climate change and methane suppression. So it was like this crazy project that was like intellectually interesting. Was something I had never thought I would ever work on.
Wow.
I have no background in biology, and so I was like, it's perfect. It's like I know nothing about it, and it seems insane. So sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just fell into this.
I fell into. I resigned. I resigned my previous job. Like, I was CEO of a satellite software and defense company that I built, and I left, which was a fun company. And I left it to go pursue George in this.
Well, thank God you did.
It's fun. It's weird. It's interesting. It's really hard.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it's crazy because if I thought at the time that the science was going to be hard, raising the capital would be hard, but really that's only half of it. Like the education side, working with policies, working with indigenous people groups, educating the public. sometimes there's preconceived notions. Anytime you do anything that's weird or big or hard, you get pushback, right? Like you're in the public light, you get a lot of feedback. And so we feel it's important to be transparent and communicate. And, you know, that is stuff that when we started the business, we didn't think as much. And like half of our time is in the lab, and half of our time is like working on rewilding plans, working with governments, working on kids' education programs. And that's just stuff that you know, we didn't really know we were going to have to work on when we started.
That's amazing.
It's cool though. It's super rewarding.
I'm sure it is. It's rewarding just to hear you talk about it. Now, you broke the internet about a month before the Direwolf announcement with the woolly mouse. Chip and Dale that we've heard about. Is there a scientific reason why you did this?
Yeah, we didn't just try to make objectively cute mice. I think the world's got a lot of mice. But no, like so we have this de-extinction toolkit, right? This end-to-end system.
Yeah.
But you know, and what's interesting about that, no one wrote this, which drove me crazy. But like we made the woolly mice in 1 month.
In a month?
And nobody seemed to give a shit. It was unbelievable. Like
what?
It's like we made 8 edits, which doesn't sound like a lot, but most people in genetic engineering, they make an edit, then they make an edit, then they make an edit, then make an edit in subsequent generations. We made 8 edits using our technology and multiplex editing, delivering it all. We had this awesome screening process, and all the mice that were born, we looked exactly as we predicted from a phenotype or physical attributes, and most importantly, they were all healthy. And we did all of it in a month, but nobody cared. Everyone was just like, either they're the cutest things in the world, or 8 doesn't sound like a big number. And it's like, well, it's never been done. But whatever. And so, but we did it though, because we're working on the mammoth. It's 22 months gestation in an elephant. And your ways to test if you are correct, you have 3 ways. You make a mammoth, and that's kind of like a roll the dice.
Yeah.
We're certified by American Humane Society, the oldest humane organization in the world. So we really want to do everything, not just to keep them happy, but it's in our ethos to do everything that's best for the animal welfare.
Right.
So we don't want to just roll the dice. So your second choice is a little weird and Frankenstein-y, where we actually make organelles. So we actually use pluripotent stem cells. So we make these stem cells, and then we actually grow mammoth hair in a lab dish. So it's living, but it's not a full, complete animal. It's just hair growing in a lab.
Wow.
Which is creepy, and it's super cool, but super creepy. But it's still not a full animal. And mice have a 20-day gestation. So what we did is we took all of our computational analysis tools, compared them to the closest mouse equivalent variant. So we weren't trying to like ram mammoth DNA into a mouse, because we don't know if that's ethical. We don't know if that's like gonna like kill the mice, right?
Totally.
And so we picked the exact equivalent of it so that we knew what the potential phenotype or physical attribute would be. We engineered it into the mice, and it's the same equivalent in mice of what we are already editing in our mammoth cells. So it's kind of like a quick quality control check, right? It's like, are we on the right track?
Yeah.
And 7 of the 8 edits, we know we're on track. The 8th one is how fat do they get, and are they cold tolerant? We're testing now, and hopefully later this summer we'll share the results of that. But yeah, we got it was a scientific test, not just a cute pass.
Okay, well, that checks out then. I'll give you that. And anything else you want to tease to finish off with Colossal?
I mean, we're working on the mammoth, thylacine, and dodo.
Yeah.
We're very excited about Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
So maybe there's future things coming, not in the dinosaur world, but with those guys. And I think my biggest thing is, if people have ideas or we love to collaborate. So if there's people here that are excited about conservation, excited about how these technologies can help conservation, we make all of our tools available for free for conservation. We kind of look at ourselves as this like research and development arm for conservation. So if anybody here is excited about what we're doing or has conservation ideas, we are very responsive. My only ask would be ping us, let us know, because we want to work on more and more conservation projects using the same technologies we use to bring back species.
Great. But no one DM him about unicorns.
Yeah.
It's the fucking dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. Some really smart people actually, though, have DM'd me about unicorns. So.
You can't tell us their names.
I'll tell you later.
Okay. Well, I think that's our time. Thank you so much, Ben. Give it up for Ben Lamm.
Thanks for having me.
Bravo.